to change.
See if it happens.
Yeah.
No, no way.
Okay, yes. Okay.
I didn't say.
Time is 6 o'clock, January 8th. Going to call this meeting to order. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Motion reads that the agenda for the council meeting of Monday, January 8th, 2024 be approved as presented.
I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like to add a notice of motion for number 16,
Okay.
item 16.
Anyone else? I have a mover to the amended
I'll move.
agenda. Moved by Councilor Deputy Mayor Lockett, seconded. Councilor Campbell, all in favor? Item 3 is declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations. We have 2 presentations tonight. The first one is from Save Our Shipwrecks Ottawa chapter. And we have a check presentation from John Ratcliffe. John, if you want to take the podium.
So just for the introduction, my name is John Ratcliffe. I'm the chair of the Ottawa chapter of Ontario Shipwrecks. We just wanted to express how appreciative we've been of the town of all the effort you guys have put into improving the scuba park in terms of new change rooms, new bathrooms, the entrance ramp. It's really turning into a great spot to dive, which I think will draw more divers to your community. So we wanted to thank you for your support, and we also wanted to present $2,500 towards the cost of a new bench at the scuba park where divers can put their gear on, similar to what you'd see at Santee Park in Rockville. So on behalf of SOS, thank you very much for your support, and I hope this will go a long way towards the bench. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, as far as like this.
Okay, I'm just going to open up for questions if there's any questions. If not, we'll do a picture. Questions? All right, we'll do a picture. I do all the council or just?
You and
No.
me today.
Real check first.
You do them up front?
Yeah. What?
You cannot catch these.
Thank you.
Wait, she's the real deal. She's fake.
We'll get it fabricated this one.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I can take it, you guys can hang on to it. Whether Okay, thanks so much. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Great to meet you. Thanks. I've been in touch with Dana mostly.
Justin, I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to do this next one, but I'll let you speak to me.
So do give me that.
Heads up.
Give me that.
Give me your safety stuff.
You do it?
Fancy stuff.
All right, item 4.2 is the Food for All food bank. So Justin and I went during Christmas.
Yeah.
There was a food challenge from the 3 municipalities, Augusta, ourselves, and Edwardsburg Cardinal. We finished just in second, eh? You just missed out. And, I'm gonna pass this over to Councillor Kirkby, because Councillor Kirkby, we were doing a little tour of the whole food bank, and he thought of the food cycler and how that would be beneficial to their program, because as Bonnie had just stated earlier, they're going to start maybe making preserves with some of the fresh foods that they get, and then the leftover parts they can throw in the food cycler and make some organic soil. So I'm going to let Justin speak to that or add to that.
Yeah, I'll just say that we did take the tour, and it was the open house down at the food bank, and great work by all the volunteers and staff down there. it was an eye opener of how much is actually in the building, from the freezers and to, the whole building was quite impressive. And the one thing that came up to me was sometimes there's some food waste. And I knew that we had some of these units at Town Hall, and I thought, what a great partnership and late Christmas gift for the food bank and to Bonnie and the volunteers down there. I hope that's not me. So yeah, that's, I'd like to present that to you, Bonnie. That's the maestro, the big,
That's the big one.
that's the big one, so.
Well, thank you. Well, can I say a few quick words?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, we'll take a gift any time of the year. Doesn't have to be at Christmas. Thank you very much. I'm going to pick this up tomorrow. I'm trying to get my employee to come get it. So what we were talking about is we do a program called Plant a Row, Grow a Row, and it really has taken off. And last year it exploded. So when you're planting at home, think about the food bank and plant an additional row. And we had so many amazing donations last year because of that it was hard to keep up with it. So we got thinking, and I think the intent will be to reach out to Sue at Walker House. Her and I had a small conversation about it to see if we could start doing some preserving and maybe blanching or whatever. So my goal is zero waste. I don't like any waste, so anything that is left over will be here. But what a great opportunity to continue to learn how to make sure that we're using the resources properly in our communities so that we're feeding the people that we do feed. And our numbers are up about 25% from November to December. So it's not going away, but we are going to look at everything possible to make it happen. We can make it through COVID. We can make it through anything. So thank you for coming to the open house. Thank you for the challenge. And next year, there is an actual trophy. It's the cup. And anybody who wasn't at the open house, it's quite serious. We had to actually I had to wear white gloves, the Stanley Cup comes in Prescott one time. And they made me go get white gloves to put on. I couldn't find white, but gray worked. And the cup is quite important. And the real winners are the people that need the food. And it's an honor. It's proud to see the leadership. We've always seen great leadership from all three of our townships. And I know next year they're going to be chopping at the bit very early to get the cup, I guess back in Prescott is what Corey's telling me. So right now it is in one of the other townships that goes to. No, we thank everybody, and I will pick this up tomorrow. I'm not going to say I know you all came to see me, but I will let you guys go, and Happy New Year to everybody. And thank you so much for your ongoing support. You never know who could need a food bank. It could be your neighbor. You really don't know. It doesn't take much to slide off that rail when you need us. So we're glad to be able to help. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bob.
Oh, she makes it look so easy. Would you like to come volunteer for food bank? Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Bonnie.
So much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, item 5 is delegations. Tonight we have a delegation, just one delegation tonight, and it's Renata Kimmerly.
I've never done this before, so bear with me. I'm probably going to get muddled somewhere, so I have to read my notes, if you'll just indulge me. So, Your Worship, Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the rezoning of the municipal green space for the purpose of residential development. I understand the need for affordable housing and the need to increase our tax base. And so I came here tonight to share some of my thoughts and ideas for both. According to the 2021 census, Prescott population has slightly decreased. So this would lead me to think that maybe we don't have a housing crisis right now. But it appears we do need to increase our tax base. We've had some significant operational expenses increases, and I do understand expenses going up, revenue has to go up. 2 houses, I don't think will solve it. What would solve it is to develop other lands that can house multi-residential or townhouse type homes. My brother lives in Orleans, and his community recently in the last few years, Habitat for Humanity built 40 townhomes. They were completed beautifully. Every townhouse owner had to put in the required sweat equity, and the city now has 40 new taxpayers. Townhouses are very well maintained with obvious pride of ownership, and it's a pleasing addition to the community there. There are other properties in Prescott that could be used for affordable multi-residential development. These days, multi-residential is the way to go if you want to do affordable. Everywhere we drive in the Ottawa area when we visit family, you don't see any single homes going up. It's all townhouses, whether it be quadruplexes, sixplexes, or row of townhouses. Single homes are not really the best use of land when you're looking at affordable housing, in my opinion. That leads me to raise the option of developing other lands in Prescott that would make a real impact on the tax base. Not one or two houses, but multi-residential options. Townhouses are the best. Each generates tax revenue, and as the value goes up of that property, every time it's sold, it goes a little higher, hopefully, and a higher revenue for the town. So I come to my plea. I ask you to please reconsider. I get emotional, sorry. This green space has been we came to Prescott in 1969, to Canada, and Prescott is really near and dear to my heart. And so I look at this green space that's been here almost 100 years when the school was built. It's a historical place. Yes, we can walk to the river, but many residents in the area are unable to walk that far. Mayfield residents can't walk that far. I see them walking a couple of blocks around Mayfield with their walkers. They can't go to the river. They have no other place except behind the municipal building to enjoy the green space. Please designate this piece of land as a park, and let's work together, all of us, the town and the residents, to develop it into a multi-generational recreational space. Exercise stations that the town had discussed in the past, shuffleboards, chess, permanent tables, maybe a basketball hoop, other things like that are not really great expenses. Something that will enhance, and when I say that, I mean when I say that we'll work together, I really think that we could pull together a group of citizens and do fundraising and make it happen. Look at the Sarah Spencer Park in the North End. I marvel at how big that is. That's a whole block reserved for people to enjoy it. We don't have anything down here. And this is our Sarah Spencer Park. It's been here for so long. So I would like to see it, if we can, fundraise, do whatever we can to develop it, make it into something more than it is now. And something that will enhance the look of our beloved municipal hall. I love this building. There was, many years ago, a person that thought that this building should be torn down and a new town hall would be built on King Street. I don't know how many of you remember that, but I spoke to him and I said, how can you even be thinking about tearing down this building? And he said, that's what you elected me for, to make decisions for you. And I said, well, this is a big decision. Other people spoke up, and where are you today? You're here. So that really leaves me hopeful that when people speak up, you guys will listen, hopefully. And I call this the people space. This is a municipal building which was purchased with tax dollars, really, effectively. And so that's our money, not mine, but generations ago. And so we need to have a people's place. This property is owned by the municipality and so technically by the people of Prescott. Rushing to rezone and dispose of it is, in my opinion, not the best step to take. With climate change and all the ash trees lost, we need to preserve green space and trees and not cut down and bulldoze over green space. Future generations will judge the decisions that are made this year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Renata. All right, moving on, we're going to go through number 6 is minutes of the previous council meeting. So under item 6.1, we have approval of the council minutes. The motion reads that the council minutes dated December 11, 2023 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Kirkby, Councilor Burton, any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Item 7 is communications and petitions. 7.1 is a joint press release from Canada, the Eorn, Rogers, Ontario. Is there any discussion on this item? No? Do we want to talk about it, or you want to?
Sure, I can just give a brief overview through you, Mr. Mayor. So Eorn is a Eastern Ontario region, and the municipalities all contribute towards, first it was broadband, and that was done in the early 2010s, and then more recently on a 5G project. So it's bringing 5G to Eastern Ontario, where many of the large companies don't necessarily have population density to be able to invest and provide the most up-to-date technology when it comes to cellular service. So this is an announcement that we're working and starting to see some of those towers installed. And that's obviously good news as we receive higher speed cell service. So we look forward to future press releases and continue to expand that.
Any questions for Mr. Armstrong? Ms. Campbell?
For you, Mayor Shankar, are they thinking of putting a tower in Prescott?
So will be tower coverage throughout pretty much the whole eastern region. Where the exact positions of those towers are, we don't necessarily know. But as they continue moving forward, there is a process that if it's going to be right in Prescott, then there's a application process and that we get notified of, but we haven't received any to date.
And the public would be involved with that process?
There is a public process, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. All right. Information. So number 8 is consent reports. Under consent reports, we have an information package. Is there anything anyone would like to see taken out of that consent report? We'll go around. We'll start with Councillor Young.
I'd like to pull out the City of Greater Sudbury Occupational Health and Safety Act.
Okay,
That's it for me.
thank you. And Councillor Kirkby?
Yeah, I have Gray and Highlands, resolution 2023-964 for Enbridge Gas.
And that was it, right? So you had the other one. Anyone else? All right, so we'll amend that. So the recommendation reads that items other than the ones we've just taken out under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Young. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Number 9 is committee reports. There are no committee reports this evening. Number 10 is mayor. Mayor, we just had a couple of things. We had the New Year's levy at the Legion. Seemed like there was a full house there. I know Councillor Lockett was there. Sorry, Deputy Mayor Lockett. Councillor Young and Councillor Burton was there, along with 4 other mayors from the local area. So that was nice to see, and a full house. And then the one thing I noted on that was how each mayor, they all came in separately, but they all pretty much said the same thing, that it's great that we're all working together, and, a successful Augusta is a successful Prescott, a successful Edwardsburg Cardinal, we go hand in hand. So it was very nice to hear that, and it's good that everyone gets along. The other thing, there was a grand opening on King Street, the World Financial Group. Again, I think Councillor Lockett Deputy Mayor Lockett and Councillor Kirkby were there for that. Good turnout, nice to see all the renovations, and if Dana was here, we'd give her a clap on the back, because a lot of the renovations there were done with the community improvement program. So if you drive by right now, you'll see the new sign. It looks really nice. And that's it for me. So I'm going to go around the table, starting with Councillor Kirkby for outside boards, committees, and commissions.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have much. I mean, it was the Christmas holidays there. I did attend the Leo Boyven Showcase New Year's Eve party down at the Leo Boyven Community Center. Actually volunteered there. And what I would say is the town staff that we had there did an outstanding job in just helping set up. I've been to other events where I've volunteered and staff has kind of sat off to the side while the volunteers do the work. And that's what the volunteers are there for. But our staff actually helped and set up tables, and throughout the night, they were really helpful. And the next day cleaning up, it was just a great success. And part of that was with having the right staff there. So just wanted to call that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Campbell?
I attended the Police Services Board meeting on December 13th. Lots of stats flying around there, but basically in Prescott, our assault rate is down. The threats and car thefts are up. So they're talking about a 2024 messaging of lock it or lose it. When you're warming up your car in the winter and keys are in there, it can disappear on you when you're inside your home. So that's it, lock it or lose it. Also shoplifting is up, and it's not really as much drugs as it is essentials, baby formula, diapers, those kind of things. So things are changing a bit in the community. The OPP agreed that we should have community health, wellness, and safety as a pillar in our strategic plan, so that was interesting. And yeah, just talked a bit about our CCTV cameras installation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, and just wishing everybody a happy new year. I did not have any meetings during the Christmas holidays, so everybody's, I'm sure, back to work if they had some holidays, so pretty tiring day for most people, back to work after the Christmas and New Year's celebrations, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Just a brief report on the Christmas promotions. The Prescott Elves were around town. I'm not sure if anybody here saw us, but we were in restaurants and the North End and downtown as well. And we gave out just shy of $2,000. So a lot of people were very appreciative of that. If you have any dollars, just please remember that there's a QR code on there and it'll list all of the businesses that accept the dollars. And also the canteen at the rink is now accepting $1,000, so that's good. Keep an eye out for Invest Prescott newsletter, and tomorrow night we have a BIA meeting. That's all for me.
Where's that?
Here.
Here?
Here, yeah.
And it's open to the public?
Yep.
Maybe get a full house there. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I've had no committee meetings to attend over the Christmas holidays, as most of us haven't. I'm looking forward to the Heritage Committee meeting, though, on Thursday of this week. And given the events of the past few months, I think I will just save my comments for another time.
All right. Deputy Mayor Lockett?
Yeah, I have not had any meetings over the holiday. I did volunteer just before Christmas with Samantha and some of her helpers to hand out little craft bags to kids. And so that was pretty fun. And we have, like Councillor Young said, we have a BIA meeting tomorrow. And I also have a health unit meeting coming up next week. And they're still cautioning everyone to take precautions. If you're not feeling well, wear a mask, wash your hands, just try to be sensible because while it may not be COVID, there's nasty viruses, and just pay attention to your surroundings.
Good message. Thank you. All right. Okay, we're going to go on to 12, which is staff reports. We have 4 staff reports tonight. The first one is 12.1, the draft 2024-2027 strategic plan, contents review. I know Suzanne Gibson is online to facilitate this. Hi, Suzanne.
Hey,
Welcome.
wonderful to see you all, illustrious council of Prescott. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Very good. Happy New Year. It's going to be a great year for your town. I can feel it in my bones. So my job tonight, my friends, is to remind you of what we did and to embark on a discussion about what you see in front of you in the way of a strategic draft. It's a draft. Today, we're looking for feedback. It's not anticipated that we will necessarily approve this document today. It may be that you want some more changes made, some specific changes made to it. But I also want to draw your attention to the fact that in front of you is a copy of the matrix that was on the wall. So I'll just remind you, we spent a full day together, a lot of fun and frivolity, but a lot of really excellent conversations and insights in terms of those issues that are arising and opportunities that are arising in your town. So we spent the morning talking, doing a bit of a retrospective of the last planning cycle. We spent time talking about the context and identifying what were issues and opportunities, and then we moved into visioning. I draw your eye to the raw data because it's really important that today, one of the most important things for me in this facilitation is to make sure that what you see in front of you in the way of a draft reflects this material in the direction that you set and sent staff off with in terms of some guiding ideas and deliverables that you wanted to see. So I wanted to share that. One other thing I wanted to also share is I know you were all sent this in December. We received a submission from the very wonderful Councillor Campbell this morning. And so I'm going to add in, with your permission, Councillor Campbell, we'll let you speak to your comments, but I asked the staff if we could sort of put those thoughts up as well, just to instigate and include those comments, and then everybody can jump in and add their thoughts. Does that sound okay in terms of a process? So for me, look, this is the goal today. We want to get this plan as strong as we can. So that means that it's clear, it's compelling, it's clear, like understandable to people reading it. We want to make sure that the plan reflects the direction you set. If we're missing anything, this is the time to identify it. It'll be brought forward in another rendition. And is it framed in a way that you feel is articulate and clear? Is there anything in there that is framed in a way that you don't like? So we're looking for feedback. And I want to make a point. If a word or a phrase or the way something's framed is not sitting well with you, I would really encourage you to share that. What I don't want to do tonight, because I don't think you want to do it, is wordsmith by committee. So where I'm going with this is you may have some comments about the way something's written or framed, and you may have some suggestions, and those would be wonderfully received, and the clerk will be tracking those comments. But I don't want to go line by line and try to wordsmith or edit by committee, or we might be here for 6 hours, which I don't think any of you will want to do. So just to share that. The other thing that I wanted to share, and then I'm going to open up, see if anybody has any questions for me before I begin to walk us through the process, is words are tricky. And what I mean by that is words mean different things to different people. And so the best that we can do as a group when we write shared documents in support and in service of our community is to try to get them as clean and clear as possible so they're understandable. But we're not going to please everybody. A mission statement, I've written them for years. There'll be a word or a phrase or a way something's framed. Not everybody's going to say, that's a 10 out of 10. They're very hard to write. And so I make that point because I'm looking for consensus today. So if we can agree to work towards consensus, and this is how I would sort of characterize that. If you cannot live with something, please tell us. If you maybe don't love it, but you can live with it, and everybody else is in concert, they want to do it, I would encourage us to try to move more into consensus in that kind of open-hearted way where we're a little generous with each other. But I really also want to hear from you if something isn't sitting well with you. Does that sound okay in terms of a process? So guiding principles. And the other thing is just to say, I really hope to hear from all of you and to share your thoughts and ideas. Any questions or comments for me before I invite, we're going to put the document actually up on a PowerPoint, and I'm going to walk you through it in a certain way, but I won't get into that until I open it up to see if you have any thoughts or comments for me.
Looks good.
Okay, we're good? Okay. So lovely Lindsay, can I ask you to pull up this PowerPoint is an exact reflection of the draft that was sent to you with one small change. There's in a few places a thing that you will see that says counselor submission, which is an additional thought or idea. And so what I would like to do is, with your permission, let me know if this works for you. I always like to do mission, vision, and values after we've talked about the guts of the plan or the core elements of the plan. I'm going to get you to turn the slides for me, Lindsay. What I want to show you just very quickly, and then we're going to come back and really dig into this on the next slide, is a quick definition of vision statements. And we talked about that at our gathering. And we put forward to you the current statement, and you did give some feedback on that statement, some ideas around maybe changing it or enhancing it. So there's an option 1 and an option 2, and those were drafted by the staff team. And then there's a third option, which was submitted today. Councillor Campbell's put this forward. So we'll come back and look at this. But I wanted you to see that we're going to be having that conversation. And I think it's always best to have these higher level conversations around mission, vision, and values after we sort of dug into the meats and potatoes of the plan itself. And then if we go to the next slide, Lindsay, you'll see the same structure with the mission, again, a definition of what a mission aims to do, current, and then the staff team drafted 3 options for consideration, and we have a 4th option, again, a wonderful contribution or piece to consider that Councillor Campbell put forward. So we'll come back to that. And then I want to emphasize the values. The next one is we have our current. So we're showing you what is currently there, and we'll come back to this again. And there's something kind of interesting that happened. The staff, when they were looking at values and rewriting, found a really interesting model. And to be candid, this is the first time I've seen this sort of structure, but they thought it was really interesting, and they wondered if council might like it. So they bring in forward, just for a suggestion, which is that we can talk about values and guiding principles, but and I think that I don't know who located this on the staff writing team, but that there are a couple of other municipalities that have chosen to change that format, talk about what are those community values or principles that we want to apply to foster in the community, for the community itself. What are the leadership values that'll guide how we lead and how we make decisions and govern and do all that work. And then from an organizational standpoint, for the staff themselves and for the work being done operationally, what are the values that shape our business and guide our behaviors as we do our work? And so we'll come back to this. This is another model or way of proceeding, so it's something to consider. And then on the next slide, because the staff weren't sure if you would like that, they went back and they redid the values based on your feedback. There were some very specific comments noted, and they updated the guiding principles, actually very small update on the guiding principles. And so we'll look at that. And then option 3 is Councillor Campbell's submission, and there's a few recommended changes in here. So I want to just let you know we're going to come and look at all of these once we get through the heart of the plan. So shall we move into the core elements of the upcoming 4-year plan? So the next slide. So I want to remind you, I'm holding this up. This is this matrix, which is exact raw data of what went up on the wall. I want to share a few things with you. I was not in the writing sessions with the staff, so if you need to understand why something was written a particular way, I know I spent 2 hours with the team. We went through the plan, we cross-referenced, we realigned, looked at various things to make sure, for me, when I was in the room, what I heard and what I took away, looking at your raw data, we worked through to try and ensure alignment. There are a few things that I want to share with you that the staff team shared with me. They tried to stay true to this vision, this matrix vision, as much as they could. So they worked directly from this document and sort of looked at each thing and tried to piece it in one place or another. And you'll appreciate these take time to write, it's multiple days and different renditions. They bundled some components together to bring the priorities down to 3. So you'll see there are 3 priorities and there are objectives within each priority. Now, there's no right or wrong to how many priorities any organization or municipality or entity has. Generally, good practice is to have 3 to 4. Over 4, it gets a little overwhelming. I've seen some municipalities do 5 or 6. There's no right or wrong, but they aim to try to sort of keep them to 3 or 4, and they ended up with 3. So I wanted to share that with you. They also, we're looking right now at the priority and then the objectives underneath, and we're going to go on the next slide to the strategies. We won't do that yet, though, but those strategies are core bundles of bundled activities or strategic approaches to achieve the objectives. And so some of those strategies were framed in light of what's already happening operationally, in addition to an understanding of making sure that things that were going on in the last cycle also continue. So there's a little bit of bridging that's gone on as well. Last thing is some ideas you might see may not be directly related to the matrix, but are related to your comments from the morning when you talked about opportunities. So there was a cross-reference done against those as well to make sure that your comments and the things that you identified as issues or opportunities emerged in the final rendition of the document. So I also want to remind you of one other important thing. Once we get this to a point where you've approved it, the staff will go away and they'll do operational planning. Of course, they'll do their annual budgeting, and you'll be part of all of those ongoing planning processes. And they'll also come back with sort of an indication of how they will report back and the indicators they'd use to let you know. So I want to remind you where we are in that cycle as well. And that happens on an annual cycle, on an annual cycle. And the only other thing is to say, not everything will be exactly the same as what was on the wall, because I'll remind you when we were in session, I was sharing with you that some ideas might be a little too big. They might be more like 8-year ideas. So there might be the way it gets framed might be more around doing feasibility work or examining the possibility before moving into a full out plan, because there's phases and steps. So they tried to scope and scale out the work in that kind of way. So any questions for me on that? So you'll see in front of you proposed 3 priorities. The first being progress development and sustainable growth opportunities. So the whole piece around all the things around economic development, growth, supporting growth, housing, business retention, creating a thriving downtown. One bundle. The second bundle that was created is the whole community health, safety, and well-being. Super excited to hear that I think Councillor Campbell or Councillor Kirkby, one of you had said it was affirmed that people like that priority. I think it's a great priority, but that one really focused on youth and public engagement. So really engaging the community healthcare and active living, and then community safety and security. So bundle it as 3 objectives. And then the third priority, expand recreation, leisure, and tourism. And you'll see within there's tourism, there's the waterfront use, which was discussed quite a lot, in addition to recreational and leisure infrastructure. So I want to remind you, there's no right or wrong way to bundle something. There's many ways to bundle things. This is the way that, after looking at the matrix and sorting out core operations and what's continuing into the next cycle, this is how the staff chose to try to bundle. So they began to bundle in that way. Any questions about this one? This particular piece, this is the high level. What I'd like to do is go now priority by priority. Now, it's really important as we go through each of these priorities, I want you to look at this through a couple of different lenses. And if you have any comments, to raise your hand and share, and we can have a dialogue. The first is, and I'm going to get you, Lindsay, to move to the next slide for me. I think it's Lindsay who's moving the slides. Whoever it is, thank you. I can't see you, but thank you. So I want you to let me know if you think anything is missing, like anything that's missing as a cross-reference to this document. I want to know if you feel that something isn't quite framed right. What I mean by that is it might be, that's not quite the right way I would articulate that particular strategy. And I want to get a sense of if you're in alignment with these strategies. Now, some of these strategies are already in process, but wording is another thing. So we'll be very open to feedback at that point. And we're going to do this slide by slide per strategy. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you some high level questions. And then I'm going to actually talk to you about the bundling structure, if everybody's okay with that. So we have in front of us, under progress development and sustainable growth opportunities, objectives being, and a very big discussion point on, and by the way, you remember the scores, you'll see the score numbers when you did the democracy. Housing. So encourage significant housing development, and there's a variety of strategies here, which include exploring a broad range of housing options and intensification to attract and retain younger demographic families, and to encourage diversity and sustainability in the community. The next one, implement zoning changes to facilitate and support an increase in density use and types of housing options. The third, engage with vacant and underutilized property owners zoned for residential use to understand their intentions for future development. And then to create and distribute a development opportunities package to prospective residential builders. Facilitate communications to build opportunities between property owners and developers, and expand infrastructure to support growth by taking advantage of programs and initiatives for funding. So these were the key strategies in part from the morning, in part from the comments here, in addition to having your operational experts and like the staff that are working on the housing pieces to also identify some of the things that will continue that have been in process. Reminding you, of course, that you are more of a catalytic force. Your role as a city, as a town, is more catalytic. You don't actually build the homes yourself. So a lot of these things are about leveraging or influencing or engaging people in trying to make this happen. So really, that kind of work. It's not directly in your portfolio in terms of being a housing provider or housing developer per se, if you know what I'm saying. So I wanted to ask how people feel about this set of strategies. Any comments? Are we in agreement? Are we missing anything? Would you like anything reframed? And I'm going to.
Hold on, Suzanne. We got one from Councillor Kirkby.
Okay, fabulous. Councillor Kirkby, go for it.
Yeah, I just feel that this is, it fits for me. And it's something that, I think it was brought up by, it's number 30, if I look at the numbering here. So it seems to fit very well, if you ask me.
And
Okay.
the 30 represents what? Just for the people.
The interest, the comment.
Yeah, it's a very good question for anybody who's listening in on this meeting. When we did a series of group exercises, we put cards on the wall, we organized the cards by theme, and then we do what we call a dotmocracy. And each counselor was given a red dot, a blue dot, and a green dot. The red was 3 points, blue was 2, and green was 1. And they were invited to go up and mark on cards what were their top priorities. So a 30 would be could be 10 people that scored it as a top priority, but I know that actually wasn't the case. It was a mix of 2s, some blues, some greens, and some reds, but across the council, there was a high vote on that. Very high vote. Highest vote, in fact, the highest vote of all the votes. So thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Did anybody else want to comment? Because I'm going to take, yes, go for it.
Councillor Campbell?
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
For this one, I feel that there should be almost a step back for us to figure out whether we're going to be a younger community or whether we're going to be a retirement community. It seems that we're kind of jumping in without a set background in terms of that, but also perhaps preserving our heritage properties. I feel there's just something missing there in my mind anyway.
So that's a fair comment. And my question would be, do you want to see that articulated within the strategy, or do you want to see that? Because there's some things you will say that are more located in the operations as it rolls out. It might be that in the first year, there's a think tank. I'm using that as a loose term, but a deeper think around demographic attraction, kinds of housing. And I would assume to some degree that is going on, but I'm not right in the thick of things. And I don't know if our illustrious CAO, Mr. Armstrong, would like to comment on that. From an operational standpoint.
So I think when we went through kind of some of the information, it did talk about, someone brought up about attracting youth, younger families, things like that. So that's where we incorporated into this particular item, because it seemed to fit well with housing. In terms of heritage, I don't think it was mentioned the entire day of that day, but certainly the Ontario Heritage Act, as well as a number of other items, certainly we have to follow regardless.
So, Councillor Campbell, my query would be, I mean, you could put a strategy in that says in year 1, we will come to a clearer vision of the kind of housing we want. One of the dilemmas on this particular one, and it's only because I've worked in housing and homelessness quite a bit, is you have only so much locus of control over that to some degree, if you know what I'm saying. You're not, if it was your own recreational program, but, and I would defer to other councillors to comment if you feel that something needs to change. But I think the point is a great point. It's being intentional, I think, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, more of an overall plan and looking at the types of properties that are available, but not developing them one by one, but looking at the overall picture to see how the town could be built up.
So again, and this is just my assumptions based on conversations. I think that my understanding is that those kinds of conversations are going on in terms of inventorying what's available, trying to attract developers in. But again, Mr. Armstrong, I'll let you comment. And if it's not happening, maybe it needs to be put in the first year, or we can agree that it gets noted and you keep this alive for the first year conversation. I'm not sure, but Mr. Armstrong?
So I would say that aligns well with what we did with the official plan and determining exactly where development would occur, how would it occur, those types of things. So in my mind, I think it's already partway done. And obviously, when we're engaging in vacant and underutilized properties, then we do have an inventory and it's updated on a regular basis.
So Councillor Campbell, would you be willing to, over the next year, keep that question alive as an ongoing piece? Because I think your point's well taken, and in your role as a governing body, a governing leader, to continue to ask that question. But my sense is some of that is already well in hand. I did ask, I know when we talked about inventorying, understanding. And I do think to attract and retain younger demographic families it's not just that. The idea of diversity was also a much broader demographic, right? That was the intention of that statement. It wasn't just, but that there was from council some interest in younger community members, younger families.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Okay, is that okay? And
Yeah.
some of this will require changes, but I think, whatever somebody sees is well worth having a conversation about and figuring out how to animate it or make sure it stays alive as a conversation. So, okay, I'm looking around at the crowd. Anybody else want to comment on this one? Because I'm going to take it that we're okay with this content and it seems to reflect.
Councillor McConnell.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification. Mr. Armstrong mentioned that nobody mentioned heritage that entire day. He is wrong. I mentioned it. It was one of the things I put up. It didn't get any interest from anybody else, so just point of clarification.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Councillor McConnell. When we get to the end of each of these, I'm going to ask you what's missing and maybe we'll dig into heritage then. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great point. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to, with everybody's permission, then move us to our next bundle, which is about business retention and growth. So supporting business retention and growth. And again, working from the various pieces on the wall, looking at what's already underway and some of the programming and initiatives that the town's already doing. So this is what the staff team came up with. Promote a supportive, business-friendly environment that retains, grows, and diversifies our economy. Elicit strategic advice and feedback from an economic development committee, so community engagement, consisting of key businesses and organizations to develop resources and programs valuable to our commercial industrial sectors to be of service to them. Provide access to information and resources to local businesses on subject matters that are of relevance, importance to their prosperity. And then invest the funds necessary to support community improvement plan applications. So these were sort of seen by the staff in tandem with your comments to be sort of the 4 strategies or bundled areas of focus in the next cycle of planning. And again, I'm going to put it out there. Is anything missing? Does anything feel out of alignment? Would you want to see anything reframed?
I think, Suzanne, that captured a lot of our discussion that day.
Okay. I don't see any hands.
We have one hand from Council.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I need your help. I can't always see everybody. So, okay, go for it.
Thank you. I do like the comment about the invest in the funds necessary to support the community improvement plan applications, because we have a lot of businesses that we have invested in through the municipalities to the businesses, and they're really taking advantage of this program, and it shows in our community. So I really like that point in there. Thank you.
Okay, great. With no further ado, unless I see some hands flapping, I'm going to move us into our next one. So the third one here is about thriving downtown. So facilitating that. And again, I can't begin to tell you the torture of finding the right verb. And the writing team will laugh as I say this, because we had to change verbs multiple times because we're like, that's not the right verb. That's not what we're doing. We're doing this in concert with others, because there's a lot of partnership work that you all do. So here we have attract people to the area through a variety of venues, amenities, and events that promote return visits. Promote the mixed-use model of commercial on the ground floor and residential units above. Complete a downtown beautification study and work plan to showcase the Riverwalk District as a unique place to enjoy. Devote the resources necessary to make physical improvements throughout the downtown based on the beautification study, and then work collaboratively with the BIA to enhance the viability, sustainability, and growth of the Riverwalk District. So again, these were the sort of bundled key focused areas of activity going forward. Anything missing, anything that you'd like to see reframed, anything that's not sitting well with you here or sitting well with you?
As a public, I had written, because I've been over all of this before.
Hold on a sec, Sandra.
No? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought the public were going to be allowed to comment now and then. I just wanted to make a very small point.
No, can't start that. We've got
Sorry.
way too many people in here today.
The good news is at the end of this presentation, we will be inviting council to advise staff on how to do public engagement, and there will be a public engagement phase in this. Very assuredly, I can assure you, and you will get an opportunity then. If that will satiate those who have comments now. So I'm going to look back. You got to remember, I'm looking at a little wee screen. I don't see any hands. Is everybody okay with this bundle as it relates to development and sustainable growth? Okay. I saw the screen move, so that tells me it's okay. Okay, we're moving into mobilize youth and public engagement. And we're specifically into our next new priority, which is 2, which is a bundle of health, safety, and well-being. So community health, safety, and well-being. There are a number of different ideas in here, and so they've been broken out into 3 objectives to reflect that. First being youth and public engagement and really supporting that kind of involvement. So the strategies include enhancing 2-way communication with the community through the use of multiple streams of media and engagement tools. So information out and asking for input in both ways. Collaborate with youth representatives to determine how the municipality can increase community safety and access to opportunities to increase their success. The third is secure strategic recommendations through a community recreation committee. Again, another community engagement strategy of bringing people together so they can help to identify recreational opportunities for all generations. And the fourth was to foster partnerships that allow youth to access higher education opportunities close to home. So those were the 4. And again, the query of, are we missing anything? Does anything need reframing? Anything you're particularly plucky about?
Oh, Councillor Campbell?
Community health, safety, and well-being, I don't see it here, but there's a whole missing piece, I believe, about mental health. Is that part of this one? Is it supposed to be in priority 2?
If mental health was to sit somewhere, my instinct is, and I'm going to turn to Mr. Armstrong on this, but it would be objective 3, because we have healthcare and active living. So can we come to that on that one? Well, I'll flag, yeah, Councillor Campbell, I'll flag the mental health issue on that one. It's a good question.
Yep.
Any comments, any feedback? Okay, let's go off to the next one. Community healthcare and active living. So the idea of advocating for the recruitment of additional medical and health practitioners, investing in active transportation infrastructures that are low or no cost for users. So that's the active living side of it. Increase accessibility, encourage and support age-friendly programs, and initiatives allowing residents to age in place. So I will make the obvious comment, Councillor Campbell, there is not a bullet on mental health. And the other thing I would say is that the town isn't set up to provide mental health, but it certainly would be trying to attract and build supports for mental health. And my instinct would be, we could broaden one of these to include it. And I guess I would again defer to Mr. Armstrong to see if you would add that, or if it's already inherently, you see it inherently in there.
Certainly, I think we could change the first bullet to mention mental health, mental, and medical practitioners or health practitioners might be a better way to address that and obviously bring it to light in the plan itself.
Would that be an acceptable option for council?
Just before we do that, Councillor Campbell has a question.
Suzanne, can I just read a couple of my notes that I wrote to see if they are strategies or how they could be included, perhaps?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Advocate for needed resources and policy areas outside municipal scope. So that would be mental health, addictions, primary care doctors. Support the goals of existing community groups. Case interaction and enforcement. Getting medical students into the community, learning in our area. And safe neighborhoods. So those are all the kind of things I thought would be under community health, safety, and well-being.
I think the safety, if I'm not mistaken, the safety issue was hit in the last slide. There was a reference to community safety. So my instinct is, if you wanted to flip back, we could look at it, but my instinct is that one's covered there. And I guess I love your list of activities. My instinct would be, and I'm just throwing this out for the group, and again, I would also defer to Mr. Armstrong, to bundle like that first bullet could be broadened even more to include some of your comments about building increased capacity in the town for medical health, mental health, and there was another one that you had listed there. And it's important you use the word advocate because it's not within your bailiwick to do it, but to try and galvanize it. Councillor Campbell, could you list, there was one other thing that you'd listed there that I thought would fit up there.
So I mentioned the police interaction, no. Advocate for needed resources and policy areas outside municipal scope. Provided.
So, yeah, that one, was it when you say outside of municipal scope, what were you thinking specifically? Because that could be massive. Was there something precise on that?
Mental health, addictions, primary care, and doctors.
So that's, I think I agree with you, Mr. Armstrong, that first bullet could include, it could be framed out a little broader. If you submitted those notes to the team, they could broaden that out to include mental health and medley of primary health supports. Again, but I think it's really important the word advocate be used because it's not within your control. It's about trying to mobilize and galvanize people to come in and support.
Right. I had said support the goals of existing community groups. Not sure which one.
So could you articulate for me the types of groups you're thinking of when you said that?
Well, if there's a youth group meeting, we have various organizations, whether it's scouts or whatever, that work within the town.
Yeah.
But they're volunteer organizations and that we could work together with them, support them.
Mr. Armstrong, are you already doing that?
To a certain extent, certainly through the community grant, we do that. I think the Youth Advisory Council was really where we were kind of looking at that, as well as also the Recreation Committee. So I think there was a couple of different venues and tools that we could use for that, but certainly happy to add it if council wishes.
Okay, and I don't want to slow down the process, but this is why you say no wordsmithing, but if you wanted, I could hand in extra notes later.
I would recommend that you do that, and I guess I'm going to look around, I'm going to try and look at each of you in the eye, which I can't do very well, but and given the fact that Mr. Armstrong has identified other spaces where some of that's gonna happen, I mean, I think inherently, the town of Prescott wants to do as much as that as possible. I'm not sure if it's a distinct strategy unto itself, but a way of doing the work. It's about community engagement, community empowerment, ultimately, right? Supporting other groups. So would council like something specifically added on that front? Or, and I'm deferring to other councillors now, or do you feel that it's woven inherently in some of the strategies?
Councillor Kirkby?
Just a lot of the things covered there, I kind of feel are covered under the medical and healthcare practitioners. When I think of that, I think of the Prescott Family Health Team down on King Street. And they offer, a lot of them service mental health services. They have a social worker there. They have the medical, they have the food plan. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of that there, right? And then when you talk about, when you say the groups, you know what I mean? I don't know that many groups that are still active per se, you know what I mean? So it sounds great, but to me, you know, it gets really broadened. And when I think of medical and healthcare practitioners, I'm thinking of getting professionals in the town more than that we have, which, by the way, I would think would bring students into their programs. That's kind of how it works through them, right? So to me, there's, you know, you could definitely add some words to it, but I think, you know, we spent 8 hours that day on some of this, and I thought we captured it pretty good. Thank you.
So the question for any other councillors is do you feel that the suggestion is substantive enough for it to be a bullet? I actually think it's happening, and I think the question illuminates the desire to see it continue to happen and probably happen more, and particularly on the mental health front, I get. But do we need a specific bullet on it, or can we agree that this would be noted in the minutes and an ongoing, again, like it's an ongoing posture or way of doing the work?
I think it's,
I think that sounds
Yeah.
good.
yeah.
Is that acceptable? And Councillor Campbell, I do think you should submit your notes because they have great bearing on operations as well, right?
Great, okay, thanks.
Okay, great feedback. Thank you for that. And the only other one that I heard you comment on was police. So I do want to ask Mr. Armstrong if that is sitting, because that is a distinct thing. And I believe it's around the emergency response service partners, but I just want to make sure I'm not making an assumption.
So I think in the community safety and wellbeing plan, it talks about, you know, police presence, police interaction, those types of things. And I think that's covered in the next slide itself. And also kind of talks about those partnerships when it comes to the safety of citizens, the health of citizens, and how we respond to emergencies. So from my perspective, I think it's covered there. We also are lucky enough to have a mobile community response team in Prescott and in the Grundle area. That's been very successful and certainly a strategic partner for the town in how we respond to situations as they arise. Not only from a bylaw or policing perspective, but from a mental health perspective, and bringing those three groups together to help deal with situations. So it's not necessarily a punitive police type of situation. It's one where we can actually avoid that.
Okay, so thank you for that clarification. So I am going to get us to go to the next slide, which is all about community safety and security. So the strategies are being proactive in utilizing the community safety and wellbeing action plan, make the health and safety of all citizens a key priority through partnerships when preparing to respond to emergencies, prepare for climate change by implementing viable environmental sustainability strategies, encourage innovative programs and technologies through all emergency service partners, and provide residents with strategies to reduce their personal risk through simpler safety measures. So again, as you look at these, does this feel like a fulsome list? Are we missing anything? Is there anything you have questions about or you'd like reframed or drawn up, pulled up?
Councillor Campbell?
Suzanne, I had wanted the environment to be a priority on its own or a pillar.
Yeah.
And that's the only
I-
sentence that I see it there.
And I want you to know that that was a discussion that when I reviewed the document, we talked about it as a team. And this is sort of where that conversation landed after quite a lot of deliberation, is that there were a number of ideas that were illuminated that day that would be beginning activities. And so the group said, we definitely need to work on climate change, particularly like on the climate change around viable environmental sustainable strategies. And we need to do that. We need to get a full sort of strategy going there. And we certainly prioritize the environment. And we want it up in our guiding principles as a way by which we do everything. So it's an integrated piece of every action we take, we think through an environmental lens on. And then they said, because I queried them, probably on the next cycle, there'd be a separate pillar maybe on the environment because we'll have more work done at that point. I mean, part of the challenge with the strategic plan too is you want your pillars to be kind of similar size and scope. I don't mean exactly, but if you're only doing two things in one pillar and you're putting it at a level where it's a huge amount of work on another, it creates some discordance. So that was the discussion we had, and I don't know if that addresses your concerns, and if other councillors would like to see the environment more highly visible in this plan. And we haven't talked about the guiding principles, but there is an actual environmental sustainability sort of stewardship principle in there. Sorry, I interrupted someone.
Oh, thank you, Suzanne. I'm just curious, you've referred to the team and the we and the us and the who. What is the we and what's the us and what's who are you talking about?
Yeah, so sorry. When you departed that day, the next steps were described that the staff team would take the data, a small writing team, Mr. Armstrong and a number of staff. He would pull different directors and like folks from their different portfolios in and draft this plan out. So that's the writing team. The we was me meeting with the team to review what they drafted. They asked me, they said, look, you were in the room with us. We wrote this to the best of our ability. These are the principles. This is how we did it. We carried over some things. We looked at the morning notes. We did this, this, and this. As someone who was in the room listening, and now could you look at it and tell us what you think? And I said at the time, the environment is what, there was quite a lot of discussion around the environment. And is the environment, what do you like, do we need a separate pillar on the environment? And the articulation back from the team, that writing team, and Mr. Armstrong can tell you how he engaged the staff in that process, but it's very much a part of everything we do. We look through an environmental stewardship lens, and we will be moving more and more into the environment, but we don't have enough, we don't feel it's enough to give it up either priority status or an objective status at this point. Probably in the next cycle we will. That was what that discussion was. So that's the we. It was me and them, me and the writing team. Sorry, if that's helpful.
Very helpful, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
I just wanted to make one comment, just to make sure that I'm understanding. Thank you, Ms. Shanker. Just to say that the strategies themselves don't have to be looked at, I'm looking for, in a silo. A lot of those strategies can straddle other objectives and other priorities. Correct?
Exactly. I think you're spot on. And there's an integration between a variety of them. There's, and also because of the size and the scope of the operations, there's got to be integration. So I agree with that comment entirely. So I put to this council team, our illustrious team of councillors, would you like to see environment raised, or is that an acceptable rationale for you as to why it is sitting the way it's sitting? And we can come back and ask this question when we look at the guiding principles and the environmental stewardship articulation, which is this, and in everything we do, we will be good environmental stewards. I'm using my own language on that. You'll see the actual writing, but.
Well,
I
would like it to be a pillar, but sorry.
I think Councillor Campbell would like it to be a pillar, but I'm happy with the way it is. I think that our town does a lot in terms of climate change work and environmental sustainability. So I think, maybe for the next, like you said, for the next step, it might raise the bar a bit.
And because I can't really see people's faces, other counselors, are there any nods or are there different perspectives just to make sure we get the full gamut of perspective?
I'm good with that.
I'm taking it that the silence, and this is just me taking it this way, and it may be wrong, and I turn to our illustrious chair, Mayor Shanker, but is there general agreement that this is acceptable for this cycle and but again, I want to remind every counselor, as the plan unrolls, you keep certain things alive by asking, inquiring. It's not, this is just a document to guide. The deliberations and conversations continue from here. The real work starts, right? But is this framed in a way that's acceptable is, I guess, the question. And I'm taking this, the general, nobody's jumping in, that it's acceptable, but I may be wrong on that because I can't quite see you all.
When I do a straw poll, I see a lot of nodding.
Okay, so, and Councillor Campbell, I encourage you to bring this topic up as you need to with various initiatives as they unroll. It will be a very fruitful exercise.
Okay, good idea.
Okay. Any other comments on this one? In fact, there may be other bullets people wanted to speak to because we dug into that one a bit, but anything else anybody wants to identify? Okay, I'm going to move us to priority 3. And this is expand recreation, leisure, and tourism opportunities. And so the first bundle is all about tourism, around bringing key tourism partners together to collaborate both locally and regionally, establishing and developing a unique Town of Prescott brand and promotional strategy for our community that attracts both businesses, new residents, and tourists, and highlighting Prescott's numerous recreational opportunities to foster an environment to grow sports-oriented tourism. Most of these came off the wall. I'm looking over at my matrix, but a lot of these ideas, and again, they were bundled by staff according to what made sense from a rolling out strategy perspective. Any comments on this one?
You're good.
Okay, going to move us to the next one, which was around waterfront use, which actually we talked about quite a bit throughout the day. Maximizing waterfront use, maintaining public access to the waterfront is a unique feature found here in the Town of Prescott. Developing engaging opportunities that complement the natural environment of the waterfront, attracting water-based experiential activities to the waterfront, and promoting the St. Lawrence River as an amenity which is accessible to all. Anything missing, any concerns, anything that you'd like to ask or inquire about?
Wondering if this might be an appropriate place to put in, develop strategies for waterfront protection in response to climate change.
I like that idea. Do others agree with that? Mr. Armstrong, I think that's a great idea. I think you're going to be doing it anyway, but to name it would be excellent. Can I get a sense if we've got some heads nodding? Would that be acceptable? That would be a 5th strategy.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Great idea. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, I'm going to, for the moment, take it that you're cool with that section. So we'll go to the next one, which is around the recreational and leisure infrastructure. And so strategies were to work with user groups to retain and grow current activities while identifying opportunities for new interests and groups to participate. Keep apprised of current leisure trends that could be offered in Prescott. Develop recreational programs that allow for year-round activities, and focus on active transportation infrastructure that creates linkages within the town and to our neighbors. Anything arising on this one in terms of missing anything? General consensus, we're okay with that? Okay, so now the big question is, I'm not going to get you to go to the slide yet because it's just going to confound people. If you go back and just don't look at the slide and I have a question for you. Have we reflected what you saw and what you saw on the wall as you generated your ideas, as you voted and as you talked about? Don't forget, at the end of this exercise, we also talked about general priorities and what you talked about in the morning, do you feel that these three priorities and the various objectives with the strategies within them are a good reflection of the direction you set? They're clear and they're setting Prescott into good motion going forward in terms of the vision that was set that day, and also impact on the community, which is the bottom line of why we're doing all this. That's really the bigger question. Is there anything we're missing? Is there anything we need to think about?
I think you have a lot there, Suzanne, so.
I was going to say, it's a pretty fulsome report. It's a pretty fulsome plan. When I saw the draft, when I received the draft, I was like, wow, they thought about a whole lot of different pieces here and brought them all together. So I'm going to take it then that the content itself is reflective, unless I hear otherwise. So then my next question, oh, I heard a voice.
Yeah, it's Councillor Campbell.
Okay.
With me being lazy and not going through it, is the word heritage in here anywhere?
No.
The word heritage is not in there. No. It's
Okay.
not that heritage work isn't happening at Prescott, but it wasn't. And in fact, actually, Councillor McConnell, let's go to your comment. You had mentioned heritage that day and you felt that it didn't get any pickup, but let's open this up. Is there a need to put heritage in? And if we do, what, because we did not, I mean, there may have been some starter conversations, but the group never dug deep into it. If there was to be a focus on heritage, what would be the objective we'd be trying to achieve? It clearly wouldn't be a priority. It would be a strategy within an objective, I think. I know you're already doing heritage work. And there's a part of me that wants to defer to Mr. Armstrong, because you were the one who moved all these little bullets around with your team multiple times in many writing renditions, if there were thoughts you had on that.
I think what we noticed, and probably a little bit of a surprise, is that in our previous strategic plan, heritage was very much front and center, where throughout the day, from my perspective, it didn't really come up. It just didn't seem to be focus of this council, but certainly there's lots of legislation, regulation that we are required to follow when it comes to heritage preservation, which with the changes in that act more recently, going through a fulsome review of all of our listed properties to determine whether they are or should be designated.
So with that, thank you for that. Would people like to see something around heritage? Would you like something to address heritage so it's named specifically?
Heritage is very important to this town. This is a very old town, and being on the Heritage Committee for the last 2 terms, I'm aware of the attention that heritage gets within the town. I mean, the heart of our town for decades has been King Street, the 18th century buildings of 3 stories with the fancy tops that have been repainted in past years. That's the heart and soul of our community. And we also, especially in the old part of town, have a tremendous resource in our stone homes, in our old brick homes. And there's a lot of people, especially the older people that are moving to town, they're moving into the older part of town because they like these older houses. They like the fact that there's a bit of space between them. They like the slower pace that may be in the lower downtown area. And the fact that this council, so far anyway, from what I can see, the only one that seems to have any interest in heritage at all seems to be me. I find it very disappointing because in the last 3 councils that I sat on, that was the complete opposite. Now granted, we have 4 new members here, and every time you have a substantial change in a council, then you're going to have changes in attitudes. And of course, those changes in attitudes are reflected in the strategy that we're doing to tonight that we're working on. And these people have every right, since they've been elected, to voice their opinions. It just disappoints me that their opinions don't consider heritage more than it does. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I guess my question then, given that comment, is do we want to add a strategy? So it would be at the strategy level, or it could be at the guiding principle level, which speaks to the importance of you steward the environment, you steward your heritage. So it could be at the principle level. I mean, I know when I met with the staff, actually, Mr. Armstrong, you talked about heritage, like the various legislation impacting things. But if it's important, it might be useful to put it somewhere. And I'm going to actually put Mr. Armstrong on the spot and ask him if there's a place that you think it best fits, given your operational prowess on this, your scope of work on this.
So that was one of the reasons I think behind the mission, in including the phrase about the unique character or what makes Prescott unique. And so I think for me, that's where it kind of fit in and kind of spoke to it. In terms of where we would put it elsewhere, I'd have to kind of go back and take a look at that. It could be under development, but I'd have to kind of go back and see where it best fits.
Okay, can I put it to the group that we give this very illustrious task to Mr. Armstrong to bring back maybe one or two different options? Is that acceptable to council?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's great. Now, thank you for that comment. I'm going to flip us to the next slide because I think I've heard you all feel that this is a fairly fulsome plan, that the many ideas that were generated and the many directional pieces that were given to the operational team have been reflected.
Suzanne, before you go on, Councillor Young had
Oh, yes, please, go for it.
Shankar, I just wanted to point out too that one of the strategies is our CIP plan, and that addresses heritage. Heritage for sure in that community improvement plan.
Okay, thank you for that. That's actually a really...
That's another spot that could be, that may fit as well.
Okay, excellent point. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm going to flip us to the next slide, which is a submission that came from Councillor Campbell around proposed pillars. And there's no right or wrong to how we prioritize or create our pillars, but I think I've mentioned a few things that generally it's better to have 3 or 4 than 6 or 7, for example. And that generally you try to have sort of pillars that are within the same kind of scope of like intense work. So if it's small, it's a small initiative, you're unlikely to have it as a pillar. It's going to sit underneath another piece. And there's no right or wrong to how we frame pillars. And there's one last thing I'd say about pillars or priorities. We're going to call them whichever language you want to use. It's good to give them a verb. It's good to give them a verb because they give them action. So this is the reason why you see the verb progress, strengthen, and expand. The submission that was put forward is, could we change the pillars? Could we look at the community health, safety, and well-being, which would still be the same? Economic development is its own theme. Community development, the environment, I think we've talked about. I think tourism could be, it's sitting within one, and heritage we just talked about. So taking environment and heritage off the table, those 2 bullets, because I think we've just talked about them, with your permission, I'd remove them. Do we want to change the pillars? And one of the questions I actually had Councillor Campbell for me was, because I saw your notes this afternoon, I was like, I wonder what you would put under community development. How would you define that? What activities would you put under there? Because for me, I teach community development in college. It's got all kinds of definitions. People have all kinds of different ideas of what it is. So I was curious what you would see under there.
So that I feel now that we've been through this, that that pillars I thought about, most of them are in the priorities that are listed. Community development to me is, just the different age groups, services, programs, opportunities for all. So
okay,
I think it's in there.
Okay, lovely. So can I put it out to you to ask, would you still like to put I'm hearing you say that you're fine with the way the pillars are now with the various changes and discussions that have been had to date. Is that okay?
You're asking me or the
Yeah.
council? Oh,
Well,
no,
you-
I'm still environment. To me, there's so much we could do, but
Yes,
yeah.
yes, okay.
But
And then.
I'm one person.
No, and I'm asking you where you stand with this because we're building towards consensus and I want you to be able to live with the final conclusion that the group comes up with. So I am indeed putting you on the spot and asking you, can you live with these three priorities? And can you live with the discussion to date around content, and there'll be some changes made as already noted. There'll be a revision that comes back with a variety of changes noted, but we still haven't talked about where the environmental stewardship piece sits and maybe I should come back and ask you this at the end. Okay. And everybody else, you're all okay so far with the body of this is the body of the plan itself. We're now going to move back to our mission, vision, and values conversation. If I get a thumbs up, I'll move us ahead. Okay. Okay. It's just not as much fun doing this virtually, my friends. I so prefer to be in front of you. Okay, so we will remind you the vision statement is what you're aspiring to achieve or to create or to transform or change. It's about the future you're aiming to create for Prescott. And it does paint a picture of success. And so before you'll see the current one is to be recognized as a welcoming and progressive Riverside community. Now, we did ask you for feedback at the end of the day, and you gave us feedback on all of these, some more than others. But so the second one, the first one that was put forward is to be recognized as a progressive community of choice for residents, businesses, and tourism. The second option was to be recognized as a progressive community and a welcoming destination of choice for businesses, residents, and visitors. And then we have a wonderful submission from our councillor, Campbell, which is to facilitate purposeful, progressive growth that delivers value to the daily lives of our community residents while preserving the unique character of Prescott. Now, I want to remind you that the mission and vision have to sit beside each other. So if you decide as a group, I want to make the point that you want to talk about preserving the unique character of Prescott. If you decide you want that in either your mission or vision, it's currently sitting in both right now with Councillor Campbell's submission. So I want to put it out to the group and see, I'd almost like invite each councillor to share which option they like. And sometimes how this animates is someone says, I like this part of option 1 and this part of option 3, and I'm putting them together into a new option, and you're more than welcome to do that if you see something that you'd like. But I'd like to get sort of a general vote from folks of which option they prefer to start the conversation.
We'll start right here. Councillor Kirkby?
Thank you. Susan, I'd take option 1, but I'd like to include to be recognized as a welcoming, progressive community for choice for residents, business, and tourism.
So adding welcoming to option 1. Okay, thank you.
We know yours.
Well, I do have one thing to say.
Okay.
Sorry, it's Mary. I changed the mission statement so that it's different than.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so we know yours is 3. I'm assuming it's still 3 unless there's something that's changed in the conversation tonight.
Yep.
Okay, and then let's go to Councillor Burton.
Thank you. I do like option number 1, adding welcoming as well. And you said we do have the unique character of Prescott.
If you go to the next slide for me, whoever's moving the slides, you'll see that there is one that's in here that includes it as an option, and it was placed there. So if we use it one place, we can't use it in the other. Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, Councillor
Thank you.
Young.
Thank you. So when we're talking about vision and I think about painting a picture of success, to me, the choice should be a superior choice or an exceptional choice rather than welcoming. That's just my thought on that. So I think I like to be recognized as progressive community and a superior or exceptional destination of choice for businesses, residents, and visitors.
Okay, so it would be option 2 with the word exceptional replacing welcoming.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. Councillor McConnell?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I was here when we did the current one and I don't see anything wrong with it. But I do like the last few words of the, I presume it's Mary, it's your submission. Presenting the unique character of Prescott. I guess I'm gonna be different from everybody else again. Say keep the current one, but add something about preserving the unique character of Prescott in with that.
Okay. And may I ask, Councillor McConnell, would you be open to, if it wasn't placed in the vision, to have that in the mission? I'm getting a general sense of people like that. That's an important feature. Is it's your special mojo, right? Your unique character. So it should be in one of the two. And I'm asking, would it be acceptable to you if it doesn't get it in here, that if it's in the mission, that would be acceptable to you?
Yes, that would be acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Lockett.
Hi, Suzanne. I actually had chosen option 2, but I like Councillor Young's exceptional instead of welcoming. And I was going to add tourism to mine. So basically, we all agree on both of them, I think.
Okay. Okay. And Mayor Shankar, what would you vote? What's your preference?
When I originally went through this, I liked option 2. Is there any way of I do like welcoming. Sorry, I didn't understand. I didn't hear why you didn't like welcoming, Councillor Young.
Oh, I was just looking at it in terms of success, like it's like painting a picture of success. It's the destination of choice for people because of its exceptional or superior.
So, I mean, you can even almost say, and a welcoming, exceptional destination of choice for businesses, residents, and visitors.
So you could add that in, absolutely.
So now you have 7 different answers.
No, but there is a theme here, and it's not going to make there's a higher weighting for option 2, although option 3, I'll point out you've got two people for you've got the most people going for option 2 with the suggestion that welcoming be included, and also 2 councillors who want to see exceptional in there. That there are still a couple of folks that like option 1, and this is where the rubber hits the road. And I ask, can you live with the proposal, which would be, I think, and I'm going to put it forward because it's got the most votes, but that doesn't mean that that's what council wants to go with as a group, to be recognized as a progressive community and a welcoming and exceptional destination of choice for business, residents, and visitors. And then the assumption would be we would go over into mission and we'd make sure that we keep that wonderful preserving the unique character of Prescott in that mission statement. That's what I would propose to the group based on what I'm hearing. That's my best ability to summarize and try and build consensus. And my query would be, can you live with it? If you can't live with it, we need to know. To be recognized as a progressive community and a welcoming and exceptional destination of choice for businesses, residents, and visitors.
Could we add a progressive riverside community? Because I do like that riverside.
Lots of houses in the north end.
To be recognized as a progressive riverside community.
There's no reason not to. It's whether would everybody like to anybody want to comment on that? To be recognized as a progressive riverside community and a welcoming and exceptional destination of choice for businesses, residents, and visitors.
Paragraph. Deputy Mayor Lockett.
I just think when we say Riverside, there's a lot of housing in the north end. And, well, I love the river. I don't know that we should stipulate that's our only thing in town.
Councilor Burton.
Just to add on to that as well, I mean, I live in the North End and I love the river too. And that I was here when we did that originally as well. And I think one of the things we have to be cognitive is you don't want to have it too wordy. right? You don't want to have too wordy, you know? So,
Councillor Kirkby?
Yeah, for going around the table. My thing is, I find there is a lot of words here, right? The current, to be honest, when I first read this, was like, that works for me, right? Because, it does drive the work, but at the end of the day, there's more work than words here. That's gonna happen, right? We are a riverside community, whether, North Augusta's not. Do you know what I mean? There's a Roebuck is not, there's a creek. But, do you know what I mean? So Prescott is unique in a sense that we are located along the river. And there's a lot of towns and cities that wish they were. Right? So I don't have a problem with Riverside, but I have a problem with over 13 words. Okay.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I agree with Councillor Kirkby.
Okay.
Changed my mind.
Document.
So we still have, can I just check in, hands up, and Mayor Shankar, can you help me with seeing people? Because some people are blocking other people in my view, but how many people prefer, I'm going to ask, prefer option one now, given the commentary and discussion that's unfolded?
No, I like that.
Just option one?
Option one's, option one, oh, I thought you meant current.
Current or option one?
You said option
Option one. How many people like
zero.
zero?
With some words. With some words.
Okay. How many people like current, want to go with current, given the conversation that just happened?
Okay, with current.
Oh, we got four.
Four.
That's
Can
it.
the folks that cannot, the folks that did not choose current, can you live with the current vision?
Can I add?
Sure.
May I? Be 11 o'clock tonight. The key thing, right, to me is current works, but I think, I'm doing the quick math here. I think we're at 8 words. There's probably some room to add a couple. Do you know what I mean? Just to put your own unique touch on it. And I know that sounds, maybe small-minded or whatever, but, there needs to be, I think, a little bit of wording added to it to be this council's vision statement.
Okay, so that's a fair point. What would you add?
I knew you were going to come with that next.
Yes, you knew that was coming.
Choice destination for business.
I think we want to be definitely a choice destination for business, our residents. Come on.
That's where we got option one through. Suzanne, can I just, can I impress upon you to take a comfort break? We got a lot of people in the audience. And,
Yes, absolutely. Thank
so,
you.
And then maybe that will give us a few minutes just to think about this to move forward.
Okay,
We'll just
let's
take
do
a
that.
5-minute break. That's okay?
Okay, we'll see you all in 5 minutes.
You ready?
I got it.
The what?
We need to revisit.
Yeah, that's a Tuesday.
All right, Suzanne, sorry about that.
That's okay. I think it was an excellent call. It's that time of the night, you know?
Yeah.
I would like to make a suggestion. I've heard that you like current, you like it short, but you feel you could put a few new bits in to make it your own. And so what I'd like to propose, because again, we could spend an hour talking about this, quite sincerely, I'm not joking, I've done it. I'd like some advice, and I'd like to then suggest that we give Mr. Armstrong and his team an opportunity to bring back a variety of options. So I would just like some advice. I'm hearing that to be recognized as a welcoming and progressive Riverside community would have been, for a number of you, would have been fine. I want to check in, is exceptional something that is important to people? Is it important that we talk about being a welcoming destination of choice? You could always do that without the list of businesses, residents, and visitors. You could just stop there. I just would like some advice and guidance so that when this comes back, it speaks as closely to what you would like.
Mr. Armstrong?
So I'm just going to make one suggestion, is that we could take what we have currently to be recognized as a welcoming and progressive, exceptional Riverside community of choice. And so that way we get exceptional in there, we get of choice in there. We just don't list all of the choices. But that might be a possibility, or if exceptional isn't important, we could just put of choice on the end as well.
To read it again?
I like that.
Recognized as a welcoming, exceptional, and progressive Riverside community of choice.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look around the room. Show of hands if that sounds good. We got 5 there.
I don't like the choice on the end, but I think it sounds a little odd personally.
So, Councillor, let me ask you this: can you live with it, or is it so odd that you can't live with it?
I'll be honest with you, as far as the time that we are spending on this, I can live with anything because in my
Nobody ever looks
experience,
at it.
it's not something that affects us very much. So I may be unhappy with the wording, but I'm not gonna hold it up, that's for sure.
Okay, so does that bring us to, you had said 5, we need 7 consensus.
Okay.
Oh, we can live with that. We've got 7.
Okay, so thank you, and also thank you, Mr. Armstrong, for your suggestion. I appreciate that. With that in mind then, could we move to the mission? And again, this is a reminder, this is what we do as a town. This is the work that we do. It's the actual activities, the work, the raison d'etre. What is our purpose? How do we put our vision into action? So again, there's the current, to provide responsible leadership that celebrates our achievements and invests in our future. Option 1, to foster an environment of collaborative leadership to grow a safe, inclusive, and resilient community while preserving the unique character of Prescott. 2, to provide collaborative leadership and excellent customer service to grow a safe, inclusive, and resilient community. 3, to be recognized as a progressive community and a welcoming destination of choice for businesses, residents. Oh, whoops, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong piece of paper. To foster an environment of collaborative leadership and transparent decision-making to grow a safe, inclusive, and resilient community while preserving the unique character of Prescott. And then the councillor's submission is to provide seamless services through responsible collaborative leadership to grow a safe, inclusive, and resilient community. So again, I would encourage each councillor to share their top option first so we can get a sense if there's already some consensus for one over any others.
We're going to start on this side.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lockett.
I chose option 1.
Okay. Councillor McConnell.
Well, once again, I was here for the last go around, and I think if this council could actually do what is said in our current one, that would be a very good accomplishment. So I'm going to stay with our current one. Thank you.
Councillor Young.
So Suzanne, this is the how we're gonna do it, right?
This is what you exist to do. Yes. It's about your purpose as a corporation serving the town of Prescott.
Okay. I like number 1. Something about like, I was thinking like something using our community assets to get it done, do you know what I mean? Like mobilizing our community assets, which would involve the people of Prescott and strengthening Prescott for that kind of appeal. But I could live with number 1. That was just.
Councillor Burton?
Thank you. I do like the current one, but we could also add onto the current one while preserving the unique character of Prescott.
Okay.
Councillor Campbell?
So the current, to provide responsible leadership that celebrates our achievements, to me, that just means it's the leaders that's celebrating. That's how I read it, strangely enough. But I do like whatever we pick to put in to preserve the unique character of our community.
You didn't, okay. That wasn't part of your submission, though.
No, I had that in the vision.
Oh, okay. Councillor Kirkby?
I could live with any of them.
Okay.
I don't mind the current, I almost feel like what Councillor, sorry, Mary.
Yeah.
Campbell. Why does this happen? You sit right beside me. I kind of get the same feeling that celebrates our achievements, and I know what that means. It means we're celebrating as the town, right? Do you know what I mean? But I kind of get where you're coming from there. I could take the current with what has been suggested, but like I said, I can go with any. Here, option, current or option 1, I can live with all.
And myself, I liked option 3, but I can go with option 1.
So interestingly enough, we're sort of in a 4-3 quandary, which is option 1 actually got a higher vote of 1 and a current, but there seems to be some openness to going with the current as well, which is 3. Would those who chose current be okay with option 1? Is there anything about going with option 1 that alarms you that you can't live with? Or do you have a suggestion, as we've done, and you've seen people do, you start to parse bits and you come up with a slightly modified one, but is option 1 viable to everybody?
I could live with option 1.
Yeah, I like option 1.
Yep.
Mayor Shankar, have we got general agreement? Is everybody nodding?
We have 6 and Councillor McConnell. I can't read him.
Councillor McConnell, can you live with it?
As I said before, I'm not gonna hold up the progress. I don't see anything wrong with it, so
Okay.
I'm not gonna try and improve upon it.
Okay, so I'm hearing everybody is opting in for option 1, to foster an environment of collaborative leadership to grow a safe, inclusive, and a resilient community while preserving the unique character of Prescott. Okay. So we've now done our vision and our mission. I'd like to move us to values. And I had previously shared with you, these are our current values. Now, the values, we have a list of 5, and then we have guiding principles, which are sort of the ways in which we approach issues, sort of more as a philosophical standpoint on how we do our work, how we do our change work or support the community. So this is what you currently have, and I know you've seen them. So I'm going to move us to the next slide. And before we discuss changing the first one, which we could do, we could just flip right by the slide. I want you to know, and I'm going to ask Mr. Armstrong to explain this a bit more, but in the writing of this exercise, they came across a couple of other municipalities that had, instead of having values and guiding principles, they had community values, leadership values, and organizational values. You see a definition of each in front of you. And then there was an articulation of what would be, how do we want the community to be with each other in terms of fostering community together? So diversity, inclusivity, support, and cooperation, accessibility, safety, and well-being, and creating opportunities for success and prosperity. Then the whole leadership pieces are like, what are the values that guide how we make decisions and how we lead and govern? And then there's a series that are around how do we actually do our day-to-day work and conduct our business. Does this model appeal to people? Does council like this kind of model of three ways of thinking about it? It's unique. I've actually not seen this before. I thought it was very interesting. Is there any appeal to going with something like this?
Councilor Burton?
I like the new format. I think it's easy to read and it pops out, right? It's not part of all the sentences. It just pops out and it's more direct.
Others?
I like the fact that it's one word, integrity, for example, accessibility, transparency. These are all key words in our guiding principles that we should be part of. Accountability is another one. Advocacy and respect, collaboration and teamwork. These are all major keys, I believe. So I like that.
Okay, so 2 folks are liking this model. Other perspectives?
I have no issue with it. It's clear. It's easy to read. It's fine with me.
Kirky's good with it?
Fine.
Councilor Campbell's good with it? Councilor Young? Councilor McConnell?
Everything that's up there is an admirable concept.
That's good. Option 1.
Looks like that was very quick. Am I imagining this? Everybody just signed on for option 1. Woo! Well, they're actually wonderfully I will tell you, I was really intrigued when I saw it. I thought this is really neat. And I particularly like the words too, but it doesn't matter what I think, it matters what you think. So I'm hearing then that we are going for option 1. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one more discussion right after this, which we're going to go to the last slide for. I do want to remind you then what will happen based on your feedback is Mr. Armstrong and the team will go away and make final changes based on your feedback and bring it back to you for a final approval moment where you'll actually formally approve this for public review. So I want to make the point that you will as a group say, this is what we imagine, this is what we want. Now we'd like to take it out to the public. And so one of the things we wanted to ask for council tonight was to give advice to the team, to the operational team on how you'd like to see that public feedback undertaken. And Mr. Armstrong agreed to share with you when he'd like to have the plan approved by, because there's a timing issue here. And in addition, what has been done in the past, because you have done public feedback on strategic plans in the past, sharing some of those past things that are done, and then see what this group would like in terms of a process going forward. So, Mr. Armstrong, I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you very much. So I think when I think to the last strategic plan, I'm not sure that we did public engagement, but if we look more towards the official plan, how that was done, as well as previous what we've had on the budget or projects, that sort of thing, then we could use a survey to kind of put this up, ask people to comment or provide feedback whether they like or dislike each aspect of the plan. Another way to do it is to put out the draft contents and just ask for public feedback in general without being specific about asking about each pillar. So those are the third way is to do an open house that has advantages and disadvantages in it, but certainly those are the 3 ways that we could do it. And more than happy to entertain anything else that council may wish.
Does council have any questions before you jump in and share what you think might make sense in terms of next steps around public engagement? Any questions at all?
No,
Okay.
but if you, like, my feedback on that is I like the survey because that you can hit a lot more people there than you can on one specific night in a public engagement location. And if you give them a week to 10 days or 2 weeks, they can do it at their will and it answers a lot of the questions. So that's just for me. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
I like the idea, Matthew, of just putting it out there and not, because as you may have gathered, a lot of us find wording differently than other people. So depending on how you word a question will depend on different answers. So if we don't ask the questions, we just ask for the feedback, I think we'll get a more honest response. That's just my feeling.
Okay. Any comments?
I tend to agree with Ruth, but to be honest with you, since I know it's hard to believe, especially lately. But people in the audience, when we ask the audience, they're the public that are probably going to be responding.
There's 5 people here.
Should have asked when there's
Should
20.
ask 4,200. That's why I said a survey. Councillor Young?
I was just gonna say that that's a great idea as well, but just to make sure that the survey could reach people that weren't digitally, electronically, I don't know what the word is.
Challenged.
Challenged, yes. Just to make sure that it's just not open to people that have a computer or that, have email or that kind of thing. Maybe it could be at the library or somewhere that they could access it.
All right, Councillor Burton?
That's great. I feel the same. Just put it out there because just example tonight, we're, picking little words out, right? And, just put it out there and get the comments. Library is a great idea. Walker House is a good idea. If we can get more feedback, then we can make better decisions.
Councillor Campbell?
I'd like to see a combination if possible, put it out there, but also have the opportunity for people to come to a public forum. I don't think you'll get 4,000 people, but I think in our current climate, it'd be good to offer them the chance to come forward personally.
Councillor Kirkby?
Option 2, maybe with a combination of a couple surveys at the higher, like a couple multiple choice at the higher level and then the comments, but I do prefer option 2. And the one thing I would say is I'd like to know definitely where people are from. Are they a tax-paying resident of Prescott? Because no offense to the Augusta folks watching, but their say doesn't impact me or my choices. Prescott residents.
That's everyone, Suzanne.
Okay.
7 different options.
2 seem to be.
So can I just ask Mr. Armstrong, when do you want this plan finalized and approved by? Because that may also, there's some certain realities around time and availability. When did you want to bring this back for council to do a final approval on? Because I think we could, with council's permission, I think you could make the changes based on today and roll it right out. Because people were very precise about the changes they want. There weren't a tremendous amount of changes, and we agreed almost to the wording of everything. When would you want to have it finalized by end of February?
I think potentially end of February. We have a meeting, I think, on March 6th, give or take a day or two. And so that would be good timing because it also kind of aligns with how we're finishing up the budget to be able to say, is our budget aligning with this? Yes or no, and then being able to look at the 2 documents side by side. So if I'm going to perhaps commit to something that I'm going to regret later, but we can probably make the changes this week and then turn it around for council to approve to release to the public next week, since next Monday is our next meeting, and then we don't have one for another 3 weeks until February 5th. So I think we can turn that around this week. That would then, we can do it a couple of ways. We can do kind of a survey, which gathers some information, but leave kind of it open-ended in terms of, here's a section, what are your thoughts? Here's a section, what are your thoughts? That sort of thing. Then we could just put it out there as well. And then we could do a bunch of printed copies. I'm going to suggest that we put it on online, radio, and paper to say that when we're taking this, here's a couple of options of how you can participate. So that would kind of combine number one and number two, and then also try to get to Walker House and the library and some of those other places. And so if we use the survey format, then we're gathering the information in terms of locality and things like that, but also allowing the kind of that free form of ideas.
Just for what it's worth, having done a number of these surveys, the open-ended is much better, because if you ask people to rank or rate, you pre-frame the question in a way where they're not going to like roll with what they need to say. So I think that's a really spot on strategy. Mr. Armstrong, any possibility by that time frame of being able to do some kind of community focus group or town hall, or is that, because there is reminding you that most citizens need 3 to 4 weeks notice of an event to attend. At least this is my experience these days with public events.
I think, that one's going to be a little bit more difficult. It certainly, if council wishes to, we certainly can. But, I think we heard from Councillor Lockett that having large gatherings, things like that, is something that we need to be cognizant of from a public health perspective, those types of things. But certainly we can make it work if council so desires.
Does council have a strong appetite for an in-person sometime between now and we'd be looking against a deadline? It would be fairly fast moving.
It would feel rushed.
That's Kirby.
I think it would feel rushed, I think we're providing an opportunity for people to provide feedback as long as that window is long enough. And any councillor that chooses to hold a public forum could, on their own time or on their own doing, right? That's how I look at it. Thank you.
Councillor Byrne?
Yeah, I feel the same, like I said earlier, like put it out there and promote it as many places as we can. Maybe put it in the newspaper and say, this is, not only on social media, but actually in the newspaper, and say like, these are your 3 options, and go from there. Yeah.
I think, as you said, Suzanne, maybe, I don't know if it was you who said it or Mr. Armstrong, the last few strategic plans, we didn't have public input. So this is a big step forward.
Okay. I can, I'm thinking, Mr. Armstrong, I can share some very simple structures for surveys with you post this meeting, if that would be helpful.
That'd be very much appreciated.
And the only other thing I would say is standard wise, you probably need to put it out there for at least 15 days and really ideally 3 weeks. I hate to tell you that. And promote it constantly. And the idea of having physical copies is really, really important. So you get members with all kinds of, like non-computer people. You're going to miss a whole demographic. So I think this is a great strategy. So I believe then, if I've got general consensus from the group, that we are now at the end of our strategic planning discussion. Is that true? Bravo! You are an amazing team. I've been totally in awe of you as a group. I really enjoyed the day, and I cannot wait to see what mischief you get up to in terms of making things wonderful for your community in Prescott. And like I say, I'm coming to visit because I didn't know what a gem you were, and I'm coming to be one of those tourists who come to a destination of choice with my daughter. I'm going to knock on the door and say hi to all of you. So I wish you tremendous success, and I know it's going to be a great 4 years under your shared leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Okay.
Thank you for all that.
Good luck. Get through the rest of your meeting and have a lovely sleep tonight, my friends. Bye.
I think we could have a hard copy.
All right. Wow. Okay, 12.2 is staff report 01/2024, emergency management program annual report. Information only, and Fire Chief Rennie Rayner will speak to the report.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
So Tracy Day, who's our Community Emergency Management Coordinator, sends her regrets this evening. But under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, every year, we have to go through a process of working together with our program committee to ensure that the emergency response plan, our hazard identification, risk assessment, critical infrastructure, training, emergency exercise, and public education is completed. So throughout the year, we've met with the group, and at the end of the year, Tracy sends all of the documentation off to the province. And I just wanted to say that we did meet our compliance for this year. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to discuss.
Yeah, any questions for Chief Rennie? Thank you, Rennie, and thank Tracy for us. She's done a great job. All right, no questions. Okay, we'll move on. I wish everyone went that quickly, eh? 12.3 is staff report 02-2024, the Community Grant Review Working Group. This report is from CIO Matthew Armstrong. Go ahead, you got the floor, Matthew.
So each year we create a working group to review the applications that come in as part of the community grant process. And for 2023, we did identify that some modifications could be made. So what I was going to suggest is if the group is struck this evening, then we would meet sometime in the next 3 weeks and bring back recommendations to modify the program for 2024 to the February 5th meeting. And then from there, we would issue the call for grants for intake number 1. So that's kind of what the nature of the report is, and more than happy to answer any questions there might be. Thank you.
So Matthew, first question is, our current working group, we're going to get a new working group. Our current working group was Councillor McConnell, Councillor Kirkby, and Councillor Campbell. So do we put it out there who's interested in being on this committee this time? Okay. If you're interested in being on the Community Grant Review Working Group, let me know your intentions. Okay, 1, 2.
I wouldn't mind.
3. Anyone else? Make it easy, we don't have to have a vote.
I've been on the committee, so I wanted to give the new council members an opportunity to experience that. It's a great committee to be on. It's
Giving away money, how could it not be?
I know.
Really?
I know, right? So yeah, it's a great committee and it's worth being on. So I want to give everybody else an opportunity.
All right, very good. Thank you, Councillor Burton. So the recommendation is, the council appoint the following 3 members to the 2024 Community Grant Application Review Working Group to recommend changes to the program and review the applications. Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell, Deputy Mayor Lockett. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Burton and Councillor Young. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Item 12.4 is the 2024 Budget, Administrative and Protective Services Overview. Oh, Matthew, this is yours.
Ask, is it included as part of the? All right, perfect. Does anyone need it back here, or are you okay reading off those screens?
Fine.
So this evening, we're going to review the timelines, administrative services, and protective services. When we take a look at the timeline, we're at the change rate portion, so right on track, so that's good news. To the next slide, administrative services expenses include council, administration, and taxation. When we come down here, we can see council had a 2023 budget of 152,000, projection of 156, and the budget for 2024 is an increase of about 22,000. Administration, going from 885, we expect it to be about $30,000 under, and then an increase to 908, which is an increase of 23,000. And finally, taxation, going from 452,000 to $419 more. And that's in relation to the MPAC adjustment or fee adjustment that we received recently. So overall, it's 1.49 million. We expect to be a little bit under that in our projection and increasing by 45,000 or a total of 3.1% over those. I did note that just looking at it now that I didn't include the amount that goes into reserve coming from taxation. So I will modify that in a future, but of the 450,000, over 380,000 of that goes into reserve. Looking at protective services, we have the fire department, police services, bylaw enforcement, building department, and emergency preparedness. When we take a look at fire, increasing by 32,000, and 20 of that is for creating an NFPA training fund on a yearly basis. That's part of the downloading from the province requiring that all firefighters I either trained to NFPA standards or grandfathered. And so that's a requirement. The police going down by approximately 14,000 in relation to the OPP contract. Bylaw virtually staying the same. Building increasing by 9,800 and emergency management staying virtually the same. So in total, 2.29 million going to 2.3 million, increase of 28,000 or an overall of 1.2%. When we take a look at the expenses that we've reviewed so far, in 2023, it was 4.9 million, rising to 5.2, increase of 289,000, but of that is 175 in relation to St. Lawrence Lodge. We have requested a meeting with them and are waiting a response to the exact date of that meeting. But certainly that's pushing the vast majority of our increase thus far. So more than happy to answer any questions on those particular budgets. And then as we move into our next meeting, we'll be covering transportation, parks and recreation, as well as reviewing the initial project list.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions for Mr. Armstrong? Councilor McConnell?
Well, the elephant in the room is St. Lawrence Lodge.
Yes.
I think we all know it. And you mentioned, it was either last month or the month before that you'd requested a meeting with St. Lawrence Lodge, as did the treasurers of the communities, and you had no response through you, Mayor Shankar? You had no response or what?
No, we weren't able to coordinate previous to Christmas, and so then we followed up after everyone was through their Christmas holidays, and we're just waiting for a response. I followed up with them today because we knew not everyone was available until today, and we're just waiting for that response now.
Matthew, just for the people that maybe are unaware, $175,000 increase is what percentage?
Approximately. So from year over year for our portion, it's an 84% increase. And then if you take a look at that and it equates to a property intact increase for the town of Prescott, it runs just shy of 3%.
Just that?
Just that one item.
Okay.
Matthew, the meeting that you're waiting for, is it with the other communities as well?
Yes, so
Treasurers.
Treasurers, yes.
Rockville, Gananoque, the United Counties, as well as ourselves, it would be a coordinated meeting to have that discussion.
Do you think they don't want to meet with everybody at once?
No, they've been more than willing to have that meeting with us. It's just a matter of kind of coordinating a bunch of moving people. And so, but I was at another meeting today, and we're all committed to meeting with them.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. That's good. All right. 13 is resolutions. There are no items. 14, there are two bylaws under item 14. 14.1 is the interim tax levy bylaw. I have a recommendation that reads that bylaw 01-2024 being a bylaw to provide an interim tax levy for 2024 be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Counselor Burton, Counselor Kirkby, any discussion? All in favor? Carry. Good. 14.2 is a 2024 temporary borrowing bylaw. That bylaw 02-2024, being a bylaw to authorize temporary borrowing for the year of 2024, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder for this one? Deputy Mayor Lockett, Councillor McConnell. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Fifteen is new business. Is there any new business tonight? Okay, 16 is notice of motion. Councillor Campbell will be reading a notice of motion. Reminder that tonight there's no discussion on this motion. It's just a reading of it, and that the motion will come back for consideration next meeting. Councillor Campbell?
Move that staff present to council a comprehensive list of all vacant, available town-owned properties within the municipal boundaries, and in addition, how they are currently zoned.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
17 is mayor's proclamation, which there are none this evening. 18 is media questions, no media right now. 19, there's no closed session, therefore there's no rise in report. And item 21 is the confirming bylaw. That bylaw 03-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on January 8th, 2024, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Young, Deputy Mayor Lockett, all in favor? Thank you.
I think I may make a suggestion before we close.
Yep.
And it's in regards to, I know it's not a discussion, it's just something I think would be beneficial. The map that we have right now in our strategic plan that shows that and what you want is a little outdated because we've sold some of that, but they're listed with a P in front of them or a T, private meaning, P meaning private, T meaning town, so that we would have a better understanding of what we owned and what was out there that was vacant that is owned in private. I would just suggest that would be
part of the report. Yep, got that. Okay. All right. Item 22 is adjournment. That the meeting be adjourned to Monday, January 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by